This is Mark Hamlin here, and today I'm going to take you through a little bit of our counter sales application, which is really what it says down there, a really professional point of sale, trade desk, parts counter type, retail solution for Business Central. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go in and talk a little bit about, who we are, what counter sales can do, and then we're going to actually look and try and prove out all the things that I said it could do. And then we'll go and look at, sort of how it's priced and how you can implement it and those sorts of things. And under the capabilities in counter sales, again, what it's built for, actually, we'll come to that in a bit. That professional retail thing that I mentioned. So it is built directly into Business Central, right? So what we're trying to do is simplify the order entry a little bit and extend that order entry capability to include things that you need in a sort of point of sale environment. Things like, multiple payment types per order. They want to pay partially with cash, partially with credit card, things like that. We can record that on there. We can do deposits. So unlike the prepayments in Business Central, this is, really truly deposits. We can do multiple deposits on an order like layaways. We can get the deposit for the full amount, including taxes, all those sorts of things. So we handle deposits very well without relying on the Business Central prepayment stuff. Things like frequently bought with for upselling. You go to any e-commerce site nowadays and you do a search for a product, and at the bottom it says, hey, customers also bought this. Well, we've got that right within counter sales as well. So it'll tell you exactly what you can upsell or what might be required with the product you're selling. So in a more industrial type environment, somebody buys, let's say, a specific type of chemical or component and says, hey, if you're buying that, you also need to buy these other things with it to make it work. So it simplifies, the process of entering the order, and it gives you opportunities potentially to upsell and things like that. And if you do lose sales, both with the lost sale and the price override capability, we track all of that. So you can now report on why you're losing sales, why you're having to change pricing. All of those sorts of things are available for reporting on within counter sales. And then, I talked about warehouse. If you're a facility where people come up to the front counter, they pay for it, and then they have to go to the yard or the warehouse or whatever to pick up that product, we can handle that very well. So you can actually have them pay, or you can invoice, all of that kind of stuff at the counter sales level, and still allow the warehouse to do their warehouse picks, warehouse shipments, all the standard warehouse processes, even though you've already had the customer pay for that product. So we've got lots of warehouse integrations within counter sales as well. And I mentioned the service module. So there is a counter sales service module available as a separate extension. We're not going to demo that today, but we can do, people bring in a bike for repair or they drop off an alternator or something like that. We can handle all that service within counter sales as well. All right. A few additional things, more on sort of the customer facing side of it when people come into the store or the outlet with their credit card or whatever. We've got that built-in credit card processing. So that's including people that have their credit card with them, or they have a saved card on file, or it's a phone order and they're just reading off their credit card information. We've got that virtual terminal within it as well. We have a development framework available. So we have a few payment providers set up already. eBiz Charge is the one I'm going to go through and show you today, but we have Stripe and some others as well. And that framework is available for you. So if you have your own API or your own payment provider you want to connect to, we provide that framework with a working version of the Stripe connectivity, so you can see how it works and you can integrate with others if required. But the eBiz that we use, or that I'll show you today, works quite well. We also have gift card support. So if you want to generate your own gift cards, I'll give you an example of that. Sell gift cards and record them and manage them. That's all built in. Also loyalty programs. Depending on your requirements, we have some existing extensions for that. But typically those are going to be built based on your rules for your loyalty program. So we've got sort of that gift card and loyalty card support in there. And of course, because it's point of sale, we've got, the cash drawer and receipt printer and all that kind of integration as well. There's a video on the website and on YouTube that shows how all that cash drawer and receipt printing and everything works. I'm not going to go through that today. I'm going to show you the credit card processing, which typically would generate then a receipt and the cash drawer will open and all those sorts of things. if you want to see that in action, check out the video online. And then reconciling, your day end, you want to do your counter floats and reconcile it and automatically deposit everything. It does all of that for you automatically as well. And, the payment history management, basically what that means is it gives you very detailed history of all the payments that have occurred, to reconcile with the credit cards and the cash drawers and everything else. And then the final one on here with the star is the tablet interface for this. So you can actually run this on a tablet today using the interface you'll see within Business Central. It works pretty well, right? And if you want a tablet to do touchscreen type point of sale entry, it's got that. But we do have one coming out. It's available for preview that is actually designed for, a traditional type of retail thing where you have part-time workers that don't need to know anything about Business Central. They can just tap the screen and scan barcodes and do everything through, sort of that touchscreen tablet style interface. So that's coming likely later this year, but we will have likely a preview video of it here shortly. All right, so that's basically the capabilities. What we're going to do is jump in and actually have a look at how this thing works. Oh, actually, before I do that, let's just reinforce what where you would want to use counter sales. So really what it was built for is that, professional trade desk like parts counter or, go buy appliances or something like that. And, you need more than just, okay, I'm going to scan some barcodes and take payment, right? I might need to investigate other options and pricing and costs and what we have coming on purchase orders. If you need any of that, that's kind of what you want, counter sales for. And I also mentioned the order desks, right? You're getting email orders or phone orders and things like that. This is a great solution for that because it simplifies the order entry, integrates with the warehouse well. You can take credit cards over the phone, use safe credit cards, those sorts of things. So it's actually great, even if you don't have, a customer-facing counter that people come up to. Right. And then the last point here, traditional retail. So again, we do have a number of traditional retailers using counter sales as their point of sale. It works great for that as well. All right. Now with that, we're going to jump in and dive right into the demo. So what we see here, this is the role center for, the standard counter sales order processor role center. There's also one for a manager that would have things like, daily close procedures and all of those sorts of things. But this is typically, again, you can tailor it to whatever you want it to be. This is typically what a person working at the counter will see. And there's a bunch of interesting functionality in here. And we're going to start with, somebody phones up looking for a price and how we can get price and availability without having to, go to the item master and all of that sort of thing. So that's this price check capability. But before I get in there, actually, let's talk about this My Locations. So it is a multi-location, solution. And in this case, I've listed for this particular person, this station, this terminal, cash register, whatever terminology you want to use, this station, this lane, this cash register, this store can see the availability and inventory at all of these different stores that are out there, including warehouses or stores or whatever. So when I look up my inventory availability, by default, I'm going to see these guys here. And you can add or remove that. That's just the My Locations thing. So when I do the price check, we're going to be able to check availability at a bunch of different stores if we want. So again, somebody phones up, says, hey, do you have this in stock? And so I hit the price check. And now what it's doing here is it's asking me to identify myself. And the idea behind this is, if I have a lane, a terminal at the counter, and I have several salespeople that might share that terminal. What this allows me to do is we have one login with the device license, and then each person would identify themselves individually when they're about to do a transaction. So you can have that shared terminal, but we still track who is actually doing the orders and processing the transactions and things like that, and they are required to log in. You can turn this on or off. It's completely optional if you don't want to use it. If everybody has their own dedicated screen, you never have to do this. But in this case, as it's a shared terminal, it's asking you who I am before I actually can do anything. Now here, what we've got is, it's asking us for the customer, like which location we want to check. This is my default location. So is this particular salesperson or this counter that we're at, that's my default store. And then it's asking me for a customer because we could have different pricing for different customers, right? I could just do cash and do a cash customer here, or I could type in the customer number or the customer name, standard Business Central stuff. And now I'm going to come in and look up the item that I'm looking for. And of course, I could search here with, the standard Business Central search, and it works pretty well. Or I can go in and do the enhanced search. And the enhanced search, you probably wouldn't necessarily use this for the price check side. But this is a very nice tool because it gives us very simplified way of looking for things without having to, do filtering or any of that kind of stuff. I can come in here and I can look for all sorts of different criteria to find my product, right? So these are the typical ones. I'm looking by description or by item number. Item reference would be the barcode number, item attribute, which is nice, right? If I've got attributes associated with an item, in here, like this one doesn't have any, but if I want to look for anything that's red, I could do that in conjunction with the description, those sorts of things. So it does give you the ability to very quickly search on multiple criteria very easily. And there's a lot of stuff you can search on, right? So including things like serial numbers and lot numbers. So somebody says, hey, I got this thing, I don't know what it is, but here's a serial number. I can find out exactly what that product is based on the serial number, look up the history of it, all of that right from here. But again, the typical one is going to be description, right? So if I do, front wheel here or do a search on that, it's going to go in and it's going to find front wheel and wheel front and all those sorts of things. Give me, the basic ins and outs here. So how many I have in inventory, on purchase orders, sales orders, those sorts of things. And of course, all of my fact boxes, pretty standard. But here's that availability by location. So these are all the locations that were previously set up. So I can see what other stores have on hand and what their net availability is of these products, right? So the main location, they've got none on hand and they've got demand for 51 of these, sales orders or whatever, 51 of these, right? But I could come in here and see if somebody's got that product, maybe I send them to that store instead of, special ordering it or something like that here. So it gives you a lot of information on here to figure out what's going on, and then I can just hit OK to choose it. But, in this case, I'm going to do something else. I don't want a front wheel. I want something that's blue. I'm going to choose this guy here, this blue chair, bring that in. And now it gives me the pricing. And this is the pricing specifically for this customer here, including any price breaks, like if they got a discount, if they buy 10 or more, that's going to show up. Everything else is there. So standard Business Central price lists. And so this is a great way of quickly saying, do we have it? What is it going to cost you? Those sorts of things. So down here it tells me all the different locations that have it. And if they want to order it, maybe it's a phone order or something like that, I can just hit click to add. It'll create a new sales order for this customer, add the item to it, and then I can ship it out or take payment or whatever I need to do at that point. So nice little feature, quick price check, and that demonstrates a couple of the other little things that we do there. Now, let's say a customer comes in or, they're on the phone or whatever. We're going to go with the customer's walked in the door and they want to buy something. Well, there's 3 different ways we can create sales orders in the system. And when I say sales order, it's a counter sales order, but it utilizes the standard capabilities within Business Central. So standard, sales order and everything, tables in Business Central, but it's customized for counter sales. So there's 3 different ways I can actually create that sales order. We'll start here. The first one, quick sales order, that's just a cash sales order. So I hit that, creates a new cash sales order for this location. You might have different cash customers for different locations for taxation and all that. Hit that sales order, scan or enter my product, and away I go. New sales order just creates a blank sales order for me. So just like if you started in Business Central, create a new sales order, I got to fill in the customer, everything manually, but I could start with a blank sales order. And the most common one is this, take order wizard. So this is typically what you see when you walk into a store, right? If I walk into a store and I bring something up to the counter or whatever, what's the first thing they ask you? Hey, what's your phone number, right? So that's what we've got here. So again, because it's a shared terminal and it's been more than a minute, it's asking me to identify myself. And now what it allows me to do is either search by name, phone number, email address, or you could add additional things in here. But the most typical is, what's your phone number? And then I'll type in, part of the phone number, and it'll bring up all the people there, and I'll identify, who it is that's actually coming in. So pretty standard. Get part of the phone number, identify the customer, hit OK, and away we go. If they don't show up in here, we've got a few things you can do. And the big one is, this new contact. So for cash customers, you'll notice these two, Gil and John, are both cash customers. In other words, they only pay credit card or cash or check or whatever payment types you accept. They don't have any terms. They don't have net 30 terms or anything like that. If I want to come in here and somebody just walks up and their phone number isn't in the system, I say, okay, we're going to add you into the system. And I'm going to add them as a new cash customer. And that doesn't actually create a new customer, like a new AR record within the system. That's going to create a new contact that's associated with the standard cash customer. What that means is, employees at the point of sale can enter new, contact information for the customers we're selling to. And we track sales history against that cash customer. We track deposits, all of those sorts of things without having to create a new customer record within the system, right? Or I can actually create a new customer if I really want. So somebody comes in, I want to give them terms, or I want them as an AR record or whatever, you can do that as well. Or, new contact for cash. If I'd chosen this customer here, I could add a new buyer for this customer right at this point. The new cash customer is easy. I just come in here, I take whatever information they're willing to give us. So let's do Jimmy Jones, because we got Gil and John. We're going to do Jimmy, and he gives me, his mobile phone number, which is 888-988- whatever it is. And that's it. When I hit OK, it's going to add in that contact for cash, right? So this is now my cash customer, and it's going to create the sales order for me for that particular customer. And pretty simple. So it's really easy to come in, choose the customer that you want to work with, or very quickly add the customer in there with whatever information they want to supply. I mean, ideally, you get as much of this as possible if you want to mail them flyers or, email them stuff or whatever. But, you don't need a lot of information to keep going. Now, in this case, I'm going to choose Janice. I like her because she buys a lot from us, and we've got her credit card info on file and all those sorts of things. And I'm going to choose her, and it's going to create that order for me. Now, at this point, there's actually two options, and it's a setting based on the station that you're at. I had it automatically come into the sales order view here, but another option is as soon as I choose the customer, it comes into this thing called Quick Scan. And Quick Scan allows us to just scan barcodes into the system. So if you're in an environment where most of the time people are walking up to the counter with a bunch of product in their hand, and you just need to scan it in, you would choose the customer, it pops up in this view, and then I simply start scanning what they're buying. So I'll scan a barcode here, and that barcode that we scan could be a UPC code, could be your own custom barcode, could be GS1. Doesn't matter what barcode format you want to use, we can scan that. It uses the rules defined like in our warehouse management and everything else to bring up that product, right? So you scan your UPC code or custom barcodes or whatever, it'll add it in. If I scan that item again, it just increments the quantity, and I can build up my sales order just through scanning. So really simple. Come in, scan, take the payment, and away I go. Now, the other option, if I switch back here to sales order, is sort of the traditional sales order entry where I'm not scanning a barcode. I'm actually coming in here and, manually entering that information. And it's the same thing. I can use the built-in search, or I can jump in and use that enhanced search to find things potentially a little quicker and get more detail about the product I'm looking for from the screen. And again, you can hide a show if you never search by item attribute or whatever. You can hide all this criteria and whatever you want through the personalization in Business Central. So anyway, lots of different ways you can come in and search for that. And what I'm going to do is, I'll just manually enter an item here and how many I'm going to buy. And then I can enter the next item, like, whatever that happens to be. And away I go and do all that entry. Now this red here means we don't have it available in this location, right? So we've We don't have any availability there. These other guys are okay. We've got stock, and we can actually sell this stuff if we want. So once I've entered these items here, the fact boxes, again, you can, with personalization, hide or show what you don't want to see. But the availability, if I don't have it in stock, I can look at what other stores potentially have it. And here's that frequently bought together thing, right? So every time I buy, people buy this 1980-S, they also tend to buy these other products with it. And it gives you a sort of a weighting of how much people generally buy when they're buying these other products. And then you can multi-select, or you can do it item by item. I can just hit add to order, and there we go. We can now upsell them on these, or sell additional required components when they're purchasing something, right? So pretty simple. This is all calculated automatically based on the sales history of the items. So it runs in a job queue periodically and updates this automatically. For manual stuff, you can also do this related items, where you can list, manually go in and list substitutions or things that you want to upsell, those types of things as well. And then down way at the bottom here, the sales history. So, Janice here, is a cash customer. She actually has a company name, but she's a cash customer. We can track that sales history at the contact level. So again, if this was a cash customer, generic person, and all we have is their name and phone number, we can still see everything that they've bought, since the beginning of time, add this stuff onto the sales order as well if we want, or if we need more detailed information about what they previously bought, I can come in here, hit sales history, and I can see a lot more detail about what they've actually purchased in the past, what the price was, and if you want to enable the ability for users to see the cost and the margin, you can do that as well. So that's a setting within Counter Sales, whether you want to show, the costing and everything else, right? So some people, you don't want to do this, but, if it's a professional salesperson, they might want to know what, costs them to sell this thing so that they can set the pricing appropriately and things like that. But anyway, you've got that sales history. And again, I could grab a bunch of these guys, add to the order, and I'm good to go. So again, sales history for cash customers is all there, everything else. Now, back to the order entry here real quick. I don't have these guys available. They're not in stock. I can't really sell them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this line off the order. But instead of just deleting it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I can't sell this. I'm going to create a lost sale. And when I hit that, it allows me to provide a reason code as to why I couldn't sell that, and potentially a comment. And so it's a couple more clicks than just hitting delete. But the value of that is now we've got, something we can report on. We can actually go in and see, why are we losing sales on these products, right? And maybe I don't want to sell this one. I'll just, create another lost sale, but this time it's because our price was too high or something like that, and delete that. And maybe on this one here, I already lost one sale because the price was too high, and now they're complaining about the price on this. So I'm going to give them a discount on this line here. So when I go in and enter the discount percent or change the price, what it does is it requires me to verify that price change. Now, I have the appropriate permission where I can make this price change. If I didn't, what it would require is a manager, supervisor, whatever, to override this, to authorize this price change. So they'd enter their override code, or on their terminal, they'd go ahead and make the price change on your behalf. So we do have that control over who's allowed to change prices by employing that override code. And over here, this is my original price, the discount percent that I entered, and the new effective price and margin. And then I can again enter that reason code because, I might want to keep track of why, we're changing prices all the time, right? Is it usually price match or just a nice guy or whatever? That can all be reported on after the fact. Okay, so that's the basically price controls. We can't just let anybody change the pricing, and also the ability to log why those prices change. Okay, so now I've got my order here. That's all I had to do. Like these first two guys I scanned in, this other guy I entered. We don't have this guy in stock at all, so I can't really sell it to him. So I'm not going to sell him any. What I'm going to do is leave that blank. So these things they're picking up. This one though, I'm going to order it for him. So there's a couple of ways we can order it. You can use the standard Business Central, special order capability, or you could just use like our order fulfillment worksheet tool to manage those back orders and everything for you. But regardless of which way you do it, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to order this item. But before I order it, I want to take a deposit, right? It's a pretty cheap item, but I'm going to take a deposit on that special order. So you're able to actually come in here and take deposits on the orders, as I mentioned earlier, for part or all of the order. So in this case, what I'm going to do, I'm going to keep it simple initially. I'm just going to take a cash payment. And here's, you can define whatever payment methods you want, like gift cards, all that kind of stuff, cash, credit cards, whatever you want. In this case, I'm just going to take a cash deposit of $20. It's pretty simple. I'm not going to do anything else. It's just going to give me a $20 bill, and that's all I need. And it's going to post. And now what that does is it prints out a deposit receipt for them. So they've got their receipt. We're tracking that deposit against this particular cash customer, all done, and away we go. So when this item actually comes in, we can go ahead and apply that deposit to that special order, and they pay the difference, and we're off to the races. Now, for the remaining part of the order, though, we just want to have them take this with them today. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit F9, post and print, right? So that in a higher volume environment, you want to keep things quick. I'm just going to hit F9, and it's going to come up with that same payment screen that we saw earlier. And now it's telling me, hey, there's deposits. Do you want to apply the deposits? I don't, because we're going to, only sell them what they're taking today. The deposit is going to come later when the rest of the product comes in. So now what I'm going to do, though, is instead of typing in cash or whatever, I'm actually going to take a credit card payment. And there's a few different ways we can take that credit card payment. One is with the terminal, right? So that's the payment integration, in this case with eBizCharge, where I can go in and, have the person swipe or tap or insert the card. I could use a saved card as well. So if we have saved cards for this particular customer, like again, maybe it's a phone order, I could come in and I could use a saved card for doing that. The saved card information is not stored in Business Central at all. That's stored on the payment provider platform. So it's all compliant and everything else, and away you go. Or I could manually type in a card. So again, a phone order, this is the virtual terminal. I get all the card holder information over the phone, type it in, and we can execute that card without having the card present. Okay. But the one we're going to do, Janice is in front of us. She's got her credit card up. We hit terminal here. The default's in the amount. And actually, for fun, you know what? They want to put $800 on their credit card, not $827 or whatever. We're going to do $800 on the credit card. I'm going to hit OK. And now what it does, I'm going to switch over here. And these are the two terminals that I have available. And the one that's for this, you can see it says, hey, $800 on this, and away we go. Now, what I do, I actually can't tap for 800. Hopefully this lets me just do the tap for 800, but we'll find out. So, actual credit card, tap, and away we go. And it's going to process that. And apparently I can tap for $800. Awesome to know. And it comes in, and it's automatically updated Business Central with the authorization number, the amount, everything else. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to take the rest in cash, and away we go. So I've got MasterCard and cash, and, I post that. And at this point, it'll either print an invoice or a receipt for the customer. Again, there's that online video that kind of shows the receipt printing, and that's it. That's how you run the process. And we have something called report scenarios, which says, hey, if it's a cash customer, I'm going to print a receipt. If it's a customer that's on account, I'm going to print an invoice. Or maybe I want to print both every time. So you can do all those sorts of things as well, right? You can print receipts or invoices or whatever you want, and you can do that based on the specific scenario on that sales order. Okay. Now, so there's a bit of there's lots involved in doing that process I just went through, because I talked about a lot of stuff. But in a typical situation, if you're just doing sales orders and it's a cash customer and you don't care about capturing the information for loyalty or marketing or whatever, I can just come in here, quick sales order, and again, typically if you're doing this, it'll pop up the quick scan. Come in, well, actually I can even scan here as well, right? So you can come in, scan a barcode or use the quick scan, enter the quantity that they're buying, hit the hotkey for posting, go to the terminal to pay, right? Do the card, which I'm doing in behind the scenes, beep the card, done, and that's it. So really quick, right? So it's very fast to process payments, to enter sales orders, everything else. But the advantage of this being in Business Central is we've got all that other detail, right? So somebody does come in and you know who they are or want to know who they are. They're buying a dishwasher or something like that. I can come in, actually, let's just do 88. I can come in, I can grab that specific person that I've dealt with before, whether they're cash customer or they're a company like a contractor or something. And now I've got that ability to, not just look at what I have in stock, but what I have everywhere and what's available and what's coming in, and drill down and find out what vendor it is and what the lead time is on that product and all of those sorts of things. Look at the costs, right? If they're cost sensitive, figure out what's going to work for them. So all of those tools for sort of doing that professional sales thing are there. Okay. Now, a couple of other things. There's a ton of questions that have popped up. I'll answer here in a moment. But a couple other things while I'm on this screen is the ability to do those gift cards as well. So the gift cards are, sort of built into the system. We can also do loyalty cards and things like that. But this one's pretty simple. Somebody wants to buy a gift card. We simply come in and you hit create a gift card. Like they've got you could do whatever you want. You'd have handwritten pieces of paper as gift cards. But actually, I'm going to switch back to the webcam and just show you this, right? So you can get very low cost. You can get gift cards like this printed for yourself, like in batches of 100 or whatever. They're pretty fancy. And on the back, you can have whatever details you want on there, right? So you can have things like, where you rub off the thing to get the pen number, whatever information you want on that. They're pretty reasonable cost. So even if you haven't ever thought about doing gift cards or hoped you wanted to do gift cards at some point, it's dirt simple. It's really easy to get into that. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this create gift card. And now at this point, depending on the gift cards, if you have a magnetic swipe, I just swipe that magnetic strip through the reader and it would bring it in. Or if you want to put barcodes on the back of your gift cards, which you can as well, I'm just going to scan the barcode for that gift card and it brings in the ID of the gift card here. And then I hit OK. And our setup on this one requires us to have a PIN code or a secret code on the back of the card. And this could be that rub off type thing, or it could just be a visible PIN that's printed on the back of the card. And we won't be able to use that card unless that PIN is entered. And the way I've got it set up is our PIN is 6 digits long. The rules are you can create any type of format you want for the PINs or the secret codes or whatever you like. So I do that. And now I enter the amount that they want to buy, that they want to put on that gift card, and we're done. And that's it. And then I just, again, take payment on that. So we'll just take our cash payment for that gift card. And away we go. And now they've got a receipt and they've got their gift card that they can now use, right? And if they want to come in and check the value on that gift card, we can come in and again, just scan in the gift card in this case, or use the magnetic swipe to do it, and the pin, so that we can't do anything unless we have that pin on the back of the card, and it tells us what the amount is. Okay, so now if they want to come in and buy something with that gift card, right? Somebody shows up with the gift card. Same thing. We'll create the sales order. We'll do. It doesn't really matter what item we sell. But we come in. We're going to sell one of these, and then when we go and pay, we're going to choose a gift card. And guess what you do? You either swipe or scan the gift card number, enter the PIN on the back of the card, and away we go. And we indicate how much we want to take off that gift card. In this case, we're going to take the full amount. Or we can take a partial amount off that gift card, and away we go. And that's it. That's how we sell and take payments on gift cards. That all gets posted into the right places in the GL, everything else. And we've got that full history on the gift cards. So let me just show you now. Normal, order processors wouldn't actually have access to this. This is sort of an elevated permissions to see this full list. But I can come in here and I can see a list of all the gift cards that we have, what the current amounts are, and everything else. And then you can actually go in and drill down and get sort of all the payment history, all the ledger entries for each individual gift card and everything else as well. So fully, pretty comprehensive solution for gift cards, loyalty cards, things like that. Okay. All right. Now, a couple other things. I sell stuff. I might have to return stuff at some point. So we do have that ability to do those returns as well. There's a couple of ways. Again, we can just create a new return order, enter the stuff, and return it, or this return order wizard, which is generally a little nicer. The idea behind this is, we come in and we choose. The customer's got the receipt with them or their invoice with them. And so we come in here and do a search, right? We just type in part of the receipt number or the customer number or whatever it happens to be. And away we go. And actually, I'm not going to use that one because we paid that one with gift card. I'll do this one because we paid some of this with a credit card. Oh, no, that was a gift type purchase. I'm going to come in here and choose this guy for fun. Doesn't really matter. And then it gives us a list of all the things that they purchased originally, and we can decide what they're actually returning and bring it in. So I'm just going to say, okay. Now at this point, this gets a little, looks a little complicated, but it's not. The most common is they're going to return the item and we're going to refund them the money. But we can also do things like return the item, not give them any money back, place, create a replacement sales order for that. Like they're returning this one because it was broken, but I got to order in a replacement. Well, instead of giving their money back, I will turn their money into a deposit. So no money changes hands. We keep their money, but when the replacement order comes in, it's already paid for because it's got a deposit against it. Okay, but I'm just going to hit return a refund. Away we go. It brings it in. One of the key things to mention on this is it brings in the previous payment method. These guys paid with MasterCard. We've got that authorization number and everything else. We're going to reverse that or credit that original transaction on their original payment method, right? So we're not going to give them cash. We're going to credit that original transaction we did on that MasterCard. Okay. All right. Otherwise, it's pretty standard, sales return type process. I post this and the credit goes through on that credit card and we're good. Now, if you had to, you can actually come in here. And if I didn't want to credit their original payment method, I could come in and give them cash or something instead. But the default is that, we want to credit that original payment method. So we're not, giving them cash for this credit card purchase that they did previously. The one thing I didn't mention was the daily close and the cash drawer reconciliations and things like that. It has a pretty robust system for, reconciling your day end. So there's reports that tell you, what you made, like, how to reconcile the cash drawer. And here, this is for the actual, cash amounts. So whether it's a coin or a note, you come in here and, at the start of the day, you enter your starting quantity that's going in the till. And at the end of the day, you enter, what you have left in the till. It'll calculate out, what your opening balance is, what your starting balance is, compare that to what your cash sales were during the day and tell you what your discrepancy is going to be. And then you can indicate an adjustment amount or whatever. And this will actually post into the GL. So it'll actually post your deposit into the GL and everything else. And away you go. So pretty robust tool for doing your cash drawer reconciliations. And then this reporting for your daily close procedure that a manager would execute to say, okay, day is closed. Here's my total sales. Here's my margin. Here's all my payments, all that kind of stuff that you'd want to show.